All right, so welcome back to the APX podcast. Um, Today, we continue with our series of guests and triathlon coaches. And today we have a very special one. His name is Cesar Valera. Cesar Valera, I've known him for probably more than 25 years. We met in Venezuela a while ago while doing triathlons, and also as part of the original spinning indoor cycling program. And well, Cesar comes today with USA Triathlon Coaching Level 2 certification, an Ironman University certification, USA Masters Swimming Level 2 coaching certification. He's a life coach also from ICC. He's a former professional triathlete with 25 years of experience in the sport. He's also a senior master instructor from the original, as I said, original spinning program. Um, Cesar is originally from Venezuela, and he's been in the USA for the last almost 10 years. I want to welcome Cesar. It's a pleasure to have him in and a pleasure and an honor to have him in the APX podcast. Cesar, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, thanks a lot for the invitation. Thanks a lot for the introduction. The pleasure is mine and the honor is mine. It's a great opportunity to just get to chat with you a little while because we don't do it this very often, and always talking triathlons is fun. Yeah, so I started in triathlons in 1998. I was playing basketball in college, and I always had triathlons were always attractive to me since the 80s. I remember in 1984, I was about 6, 7 years old. And in that year, I had exposure to Ironman and Hawaii, the Ironman World Championships. And I remember my dad got me a t-shirt or something. And then I watched some footage of it, and it was just very impressive, right? Like, and that was the first seed that I had in my mind in terms of like what triathlons could look like and what it could be. And then at age 9, I remember they parents dropped me at baseball practice like very early, and I was like just bored, and I started running. And I just kept running for like half an hour, 40 minutes or something before the practice. And nobody saw me. And that's something I knew I could do. And I loved challenging myself, going longer and longer. And that well, basically that remained the spirit of my triathlon journey. That's how I started. That's how I love challenging myself since I was young. And then I kept going, and then I did my first Ironman in 2004, and I ended up being pretty good at it. And then I pursue a career as a professional triathlete. And the way I did it, and it was more of a challenge more than a career itself. It was more than a job. It's more than what's the next challenge I can find. And then racing professionally was the ultimate challenge. But once I made it my job, for a while, obviously financially it didn't make much sense. So I started coaching a few years later, and my coaching experience started in, as you said, with the spinning program, right? In 1999, I was in college, and I was like, oh, this is something I could do. And I started teaching spinning classes. And then I went to Miami. I remember in Venezuela that we had the bikes were there, the classes were there, but the instructors weren't there. So I took the initiative and went to Miami, took the certification course, and invited a couple of friends. And then we were the first, certified instructors. And then we made some connections, and then the program started growing over there. And then they needed master instructors just to certify the art instructors. And I was lucky enough that I was one of the probably the only ones that spoke good English, and then I could get the certification. And then I traveled in the year 2000, and I traveled to LA to get the master instructor like certification camp. And I've been with Matter Athletics ever since. It's almost 25 years, and now I contribute with the education. Now I contribute with the since the year 2013. I've helped them develop the spin power program, and I contribute with the evolution of it and how to focus in on bringing the cycling into the real cycling with power meters and data and everything we experience outdoors into the indoor cycling world. So I try to make it as simple as possible and easy to digest and process for non-cyclists. And I think it's been very successful. And I think it used to be the future. Now it's the present of indoor cycling. Anywhere you go, you see uh, like spinning bikes with power meters, which is a big difference from when we started back in the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll go back to a lot of these things again. Thank you for your introduction, and for again one more time. Thank you for accepting to come to the podcast. So I want to go back to a couple of the things that you mentioned, and within that, I always have a skeleton of questions that I have for my guests, and we can always diverge into or go into not a rabbit hole, but go into like another direction within the question. Okay, so you already told me about your background in triathlon and coaching, and within that, you mentioned your first Ironman. Okay, but before we go to your first Ironman, I want to go to your first triathlon. Like which was your first triathlon, and what distance was it?
So,
And like, tell me about your gear choices and all that first triathlon experience. How did it go? When did it happen? What year was it?
so I was lucky enough to be in a to like at school with there was a pool and there was swimming classes when I was a kid, and then I was in like swim lessons and sort of swim team, like pre-swim team, like swim academy. And I learned how to swim when I was like, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And when I was and before getting into the right before getting into swim team, um they thought I was more suited, or it was better for me to join a more of a team sport. So I started playing baseball. And then right after that I started playing basketball. And then it was funny because the one who suggested that was the sports director of the school, who ended up being many times the national the coach of the national team and the coach of the Estado Miranda. I don't know if you remember Oscar Wayne.
Yes.
Probably, yeah. So he was the director of school, and he recommended my parents, like, even though I could swim or could do whatever, he thought like playing basketball was good. And he was right. I mean, I was pretty good at basketball right away. I was in
Oh,
national
you're
team.
tall. How tall are you?
I'm
Six
six
four, six.
four, 6'4",
Yeah.
yeah. So as at 12 years old, I was already, and then like with a couple of years just playing, I was already in the national team at that age. And then I was at that level all the way to college. And it was great. I mean, it was my passion. And of course, even though I had the that seat of triathlons was there, and I knew how to swim a little bit, I thought so. And then I started swimming at age like 18 again, and that it was so hard, right? So my first triathlon, and it keeps it's a race that I did 17 years in a row. Actually, is that remember that the triathlon Hebraica, the in
Yeah.
Caracas, and I was it was in the, basically the place where we used to
It
train
was a
every weekend.
classic. Yeah. Yeah.
It was I felt that it was like the national championship, like non-draft national championship Olympic distances. It was a very tough course, very hilly. It was a pool swim, so it was always the same. It was I mean I liked it a lot, and it was a great challenge. So that was my first race. And then I remember that I was lucky enough to be exposed to cycling and running before, like years before, because my dad liked running and he liked cycling. So he had road bikes, and so I did it with probably the bike was maybe a 54 and I ride a 58 or a 61. And I,
Right.
rode with that, and then the seat post was like way high. And
Way
then
up.
I had um aero bars, which was cool. I did have aero bars, and then a helmet and shoes and everything I needed, because again, my father gave me exposure. You see sometimes athletes, they start with like, and they ride with running shoes, or the bike is just totally, like almost, it almost useless in terms of the pieces and the quality of the pieces. But this was fine. It was just small for me. So I remember that first triathlon. I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was just so afraid of not making the cutoff of the swim, because
Right.
I decided to do it a week before, and I hadn't trained for it. Basically, I had been riding a little bit and then running a bit, but I haven't been swimming. So I swam for that week, and it was 1,000 meters. It was short course meters. And I was like, can I swim like I think they gave us like 22 minutes or something
I forget.
for a
Yeah. Yeah.
thousand
Something like
meters.
that. Yeah.
So I was like, can I do it? I wasn't sure. And then I ended up, yeah, it was fine. I took it easy, and it swam, and it was like 19 minutes or 20 or something. Um, and then I got out of the water. I rode it was pretty okay. And then I ran, and I started running. And then I remember, I was on I think it was like 5 waves, and I was on the fourth wave. And then I got to the turnaround point, because it was 5 kilometers up, 5 kilometers down. And then on the turnaround point, I started coming down, and then I saw this guy running incredibly fast, followed by this motorcycle. And it's like, oh, this must be the professionals, like, were in the final one. And he was Gilberto Gonzalez, who's, I know, is
Of course. Yeah.
friend and close friend. And we all know he was like our hero, right? And but I didn't know
1999 gold medal
gold medal
for
in
the Pan
the
American Games. Yeah.
yeah, and he beat Simon Whitfield, who was
The gold medal
the
next
gold
year.
medal next year. Yeah. So so I saw him running and going up, and then I almost forgot a couple of minutes later, and he passed me, and I saw G Gonzalez on his speedo, because remember, like, back then it was a speedo and a
We're
singlet,
all
and of course,
speedos.
and
Yeah.
then
And singlet. Yeah.
I was like, wow, I would love to be able, because I was running
So
probably
what
what,
year was this? I missed this part. What year
I
was
think it
it?
was 1999 or eight.
1999.
Yeah.
19. Okay.
Um, so I saw him running, and I was like, wow, I want to be able to do that one day. Right. And then I kept running. I was probably running. I think I must have run like 10K in like 52 minutes or something like that. So it was like probably like, what is that? Like 8:20, 8:10, something, so about 8 minutes per mile, which, I mean, for a 19, 10, 20-year-old guy in pretty good, decent shape, it was not bad, but it was not fast at all. Um, and then I got to the finish line, and yeah, but that image was right there. It got stuck in my mind. And then I went all in after that finish line. I went all in, and then stopped playing basketball, stopped doing everything, and it's just everything was triathlon related. And then uh got pretty good at it. And then within it was 7 years later, I won the race with the same time Hilberto did that year. Just exactly
Huh.
the same time. It was, I mean, I rode faster and ran a little slower, but overall it was the same time. I was like, wow, that's a how your mind works. That's a
Accomplishment. Yes.
Yeah. And then I remember they actually made I had a there was this, do you remember that there was this newspaper. It was like similar to Marca. It was like the Venezuelan Marca.
The
It was Líder
Meridiano
or something.
or
No, it was not
leader. Yeah.
Meridiano. It was Líder. It was Líder. It was a competition.
Okay.
Meridiano. So they interviewed me after the race, and then they put a full page inside, and it said like El Reto Valera, like the Valera challenge, and then he made it. Like I was so proud.
Of
That was
course.
when I said
I'm
like
almost in tears over here.
that's when I said like, yes, I can make this a living. And then I decided to pursue it. And then I went to I'm a journalist by training. So in that year, 2000, and the next year, 2007, then I stopped working because I used to work at Union Radio, which was a major news radio station. And I stopped working there, and I told them like, no, I'm going to pursue this triathlon thing. And my boss was like, oh, finally you realize that you have that, you should go for it. We were, expecting
Nice.
it. You have your spot, your job here if you come back. And I just never went back to journalism at all. Like, I remember I used to write a little bit, and then afterwards it was just all into triathlon training, triathlon performance for myself and for my athletes. I developed that throughout the years. I developed that the love for coaching and the love for helping people just achieve their goals and change their lives. And then yeah, it's very fulfilling to witness and help create transformation.
That's so I'm gonna rewind a little bit before we move into coaching. You already talked a little bit about coaching, but in 2004 you did your first Ironman. That's within our first question there. Like, which was that first
No,
Ironman and how did it
it
go?
had to be, and the only reason why I did it is because they did it in Venezuela, and then my friend Darío Gonzalez, he did that race. Did you ever do that race? The
Ironman
red
in Venezuela,
item, it was called El
Reto del
Hombre de
Caribe.
Hierro. No, Hombre de
Okay,
Hierro.
no,
They
that
did it
yeah they
3 years
started.
in a row.
Yes, they was that the first year they did it, 2004.
2004, yes.
Yeah,
So I did it, and then I remember my training partner was Manuel Barreiro, and he would
nice,
we just
of
trained for
course.
it, and then we were first and second, and then Agustin Fontes, he
Okay,
joined us, and then he beat us. Of course, he was such a good athlete.
so much way
Um,
stronger. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So yeah, I remember like that first. So 2003, I spent the entire year just cycling, and I started cycling with professional teams, or it would be like Cat 1 here. If you like, professional teams over there would be like Loteria del Táchira and those really pro teams. And then the next level would did the same races, but we were sponsored by the state or the city, or it was small sponsorships. So I was racing at that level, and I did it for a year. And it was I was still at school, so it was there was a lot of sacrifices needed that being done by, because you had to go to stage races for a week, or training camps, and it was not sustainable for a student or someone that had a job, right? So I
right.
did it for a year, and then I realized, well, even though I'm a decent cyclist and I can ride with these guys, anytime that it was uphill, I had nothing, because of they were whatever 50 kilograms
Half
and I was 80
half your
kilograms.
weight, yeah, and
Yeah.
half your
And the
size, yeah.
size, I remember they called me like, oh, there goes the giraffe attacking, and then a couple of times. And it was massive, because those guys are small, like way smaller than
Yes,
European cyclists or American cyclists. And but they loved me whenever it was flat, because I could hold a pretty solid pace in front, and the sprinters, tiny sprinters would hide behind me,
you're
and
doing,
it was
yeah,
it was great. So those flat stages I did pretty well, but again, it was too much. And I realized, like, I'm a pretty good triathlete and just another cyclist. So, and with triathletes, you didn't have to travel as much for as long as we
right,
needed to in cycling. So I went back to cycling and to triathlons, and then the next year they did that Ironman distance race. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. I already have the endurance and in cycling, and I went for it. And it was great. I mean, it was a really tough course in Isla de Margarita, which is a very well and popular spot for windsurfing and kite surfing. But we were
yes,
riding our bikes, so it was extremely windy. And then it was around the entire island. The course was around the entire island pretty much. And the last what was it? Probably the last 50 kilometers were against, like, with a headwind, a massive headwind. And then it was from the airport to Por la Mar, which is a long stretch.
tough,
Yeah.
yes.
So yeah, it was excellent. And I remember I rode like 451 or something that day. Manuel Barrera and
Nice.
we were together, and then I just on that section I just put the hammer down and drop it and put like 5 minutes on him. And then I was running on my first Ironman distance race by myself in front, 5 minutes ahead of the rest. And I'm like, okay, I totally unknown territory. I had never run a marathon before. Um, and I was just basically very conservative. And it was hot, you know, how those islands over there. It was like 100 plus
80,
degrees.
85.
85
You
would have been,
think it,
I mean,
85 would have
if
been
you it
perfect.
was like 36 degrees Celsius
Okay.
at
Yes.
least or
Yes.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
36
Above 90,
is
definitely. Yeah.
it's like 100 because it's about 100 and more because it's right there. And I remember it was like
Asphalt.
probably in
Yeah.
May. So it was a 4 loop course, and then he caught me on the third one. Or yeah, on the third one. So it was like after like at kilometer like 28, it was like almost mile 18 or 17. And again, that was the longest. At that point, that was probably the longest run I've ever done, or almost. And I I was just not confident enough to go with him, even though at the end he finished about a minute in front of me. But I was just racing the distance. But at the end, we were like 9:28 and 9:26. So on those conditions, we're like,
That's
oh,
good. Yeah.
we could do this. We could go for another race and be under 9 hours, which back then it was pro level.
Yes.
Nowadays, like
Everyone's under.
fast
Yeah.
any fast age grouper goes under 9 hours. But back then with the bikes we had, like they were not no
The
tri
twitch
bikes
20
or
years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
not totally different. Road bikes, like a size smaller with I mean, would you flip the seat post, and then you would get the aero bars, and or maybe even a full aero full like time trial cockpit,
A setup.
like a
Yeah.
yeah, like the handlebar, and yeah, base bar with aero bar. So it's great. And then kept doing it for a few years. I remember we went as professionals the first time in 2014 Ironman Florida, and
That was your
then
first professional race, 2014,
first professional race for 2004.
2004.
That same year. So
Okay.
we got
Okay.
the because the National Federation, they just because we were, pretty good. Like we were competitive with with everyone else. And they gave us the licenses, the elite licenses to go and race the pro level. And then we had our license with Ironman and USA Triathlon and kept doing it for a while. Then 2006 they started that 70.3 World Championship, right? Like that's when they started. Before that, remember it was half Ironman, and then in 2006 they created that
Clearwater, huh?
70.3
World Championship.
series. Yeah. So
Okay.
with a world championship, it was in Clearwater, and it was in Clearwater for 5 years in a row. So I went there, and it was it was okay. I was not I dropped myself to in Ironman to race at age group level. And I did it because so many other elite level triathletes in South America and that I knew everywhere did the same thing just to go for the world championship, like age group world championship, right? So we did that. I was fine. I was probably 10th in my age group, and then the next year it was like 7th, and then the next year I was like, I think it was 4th or 5th. Never really in the podium, but it was like 25 to 29, and then 30 to 34. And then after that I went back to racing professional. I said like, well, I want the bigger challenge. And that was when in 2007 I did 70.3 Oceanside, and I was second age group overall. And we were fighting. I was fighting with this other guy, Mac Brown, back then. I wonder where he's at now. We're must be in his late 40s, like I am, because
Right.
we were in our late 20s, and we were first and second. And then the third one was another guy that was in our age group, and it was like 4 minutes within the three of us. And then the fourth was another guy that was that Antonio da Silva Neto. I don't know. You met
Yes.
Antonio, like
Yeah, we
Tony?
met him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, in
So
Brazil.
Tony
Yeah.
was fourth, and then and then they all went to. Then we all earned our pro like cards right there in that
Nice.
race again. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go for it, and they didn't, and then they went to Kona, and they were first, second, and third age group overall in Kona.
Wow.
And I was like,
Okay.
probably should have gone for this the next year, or who knows? I mean, I don't know. So after that, I kept racing pro, and I had the opportunity to travel quite a bit, and I traveled to, Europe, and I raced in South Africa, and I raced in the U.S., all over the U.S., because I had, many friends throughout all of these races. So I had like different homestays and different. Had a really good friend in Illinois, who ended up being my coach for a long time. Adam Suko, he was actually the first coach of Ben Canute, and
Okay.
he coaches Daniel Lewis, and then I coach then Jim Vance coached me as well, who's Ben Canute's current coach, and this was all through Training Bible Coaching, and then that was Joe Friel's company with Adam Suko.
Yes.
So I got a great mentorship for coaching, and I got great coaching for triathlons, and I had the opportunity to just spend a month in Illinois just training with Adam, and learned a lot. And he always hosted different pros, so just got to train with a lot of great athletes and learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
Remember,
That's I
mhm.
think one of the best things about our sport, that you like get to know and meet people and train, if you're lucky enough with these athletes. Like you get to mix with these people. You go on a ride and suddenly you're like, oh, you're riding with a pro athlete. Oh, who are, oh yes, this is Cesar. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm riding with a pro athlete now. And you're just going for a leisure ride or a training ride. Because I mean, I'm gonna tell a little bit of my history. I had family in Merida, where Gilberto is originally from, in Venezuela, and I was starting to do triathlons, and like, oh, my cousins would tell me, why don't you go and ride with Gilberto? They ride these days, and I would go on, like, of course I would meet them for the
yeah,
ride,
yeah.
but
And
then I would not see them afterwards because they were just taking off.
yeah,
But
it's
I
such a
got
hilly
never,
place as well.
yeah, Merida, it mile high, and then it's super hilly. So it's the probably the boulder of Venezuela. So
Yeah.
anyway, going back to you,
I
um,
should have gone to Merida to train with them. It would have been a good move for me, but I never. I was just too. I didn't want to let go of some commitments, professional commitments I had in Caracas, and I was like,
right,
oh, what am I gonna do in Merida to make a living? Like I don't want to just be a just a poor triathlete, like
right.
just eating, bread and water,
Bread and butter.
Yeah, yeah, like so, yeah.
I remember, yeah, like, it, it was Merida was a training camp,
Hmm.
all the time. It was always a training camp. It was a great place to go to, and like you would go to the pool with them and like go for bike rides, or let's go for a run. And I remember on one of those runs, like Gilberto tells me, we're gonna stop at this pizza place before a run. I'm like, we're gonna eat before we're going for a run? And he's, yes, of course we gotta eat. So, and he chows down a whole pizza, and I'm like, just like, I just eat 2 3 slices, and then he just starts going. It was a trail run in the middle of the Paramos, and I'm like, at one point I'm like, I'm lost. I'm in the middle of
Where
nowhere in
am
the
I?
Paramos. It's all foggy, and Camilo was with us also at that time. So it was the three of us. Of course, both of them are professional triathletes, and I'm a middle of the pack age grouper at that time. And I'm like, I'm
Where am
lost
I?
here. I'm just going to stop here and wait for them to come back, because I don't know where I'm going. There's no marked trails or anything. And these guys know this place like the back of their hands.
Yeah,
So anyway, at one point they turn around and like, okay, here you are. Let's go. We're going back now. And I'm almost throwing up because my stomach's full, and they're just like
yeah,
jumping around like mountain goats. But anyway, up to date, Gilberto and I are very good friends, and Camilo and I are very good friends also. I'm the godfather of his second child. So, yeah, we have a great relationship. We stay in touch up to date. Um, but this is again about you, not about me. And I want to go. I want to ask a question also about coaching. You were the head coach for the Golden Gate Triathlon Club. Are you like what's going on there? Are you
So
still there? What's going on?
I worked for them for 5 years, and I right now we our relationship, like our professional relationship as a coach, ended in 2000, at the end of 2023, because I have my own programs and my own on um, full-time job at Kenyatta College now. We can talk about more later.
2023.
Uh, so in 2023, I was coaching their long distance programs, and I was also developing my programs in Kenyatta College. And obviously, I did, and I was also coaching my athletes, a group of like up to 30 athletes that I usually coach, and I was taking care of my kids and my family and my wife. And so it was a little bit too much. And then it was the right decision for them, for me, just to stop that. And then, but I'm very proud of having developed what the long distance triathlon programs, the Golden Gate long distance triathlon program is nowadays. We won the North American Club championship at Santa Cruz in the year 2022. And then yeah, it was great. It was I couldn't have asked for more, for more. It was excellent. Now I wish I would have more time to invest with them, but I'm just now just an ally, let's call it. So most of
Okay.
my I give my athletes a discount if they belong to the club, and I'm on their website, and we have still have a relationship, but I'm not their head coach anymore because I have my
Yeah,
own
you have your own business
program
now.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Kenyatta College is a they if we're gonna go in there yet, but
Yeah. Tell me about
yeah,
Cañada College. How
yeah.
how how did you start? What is this?
So they basically created this position uh, for me because it's they have the Kenyatta College Community the Community College District, the San Mateo Community College District has three locations, three main colleges. It's Skyline College, College of San Mateo, and Kenyatta College. And they've been established for a long time. So in 2022, they started building this. Well, they started it before, but in 2023 they opened this really nice facility with two pools, but like everything you need for a gym, for a high quality gym, um like state of the art, like building. Everything is beautiful, spacious, all the best equipment for everything. So they wanted something more than masters. So I was coaching up until that point. I was the head coach of a masters swim team at Burlingame. And I was with them for probably like another 4 or 5 years. And they reached out and they said, well, we want something else. We want something more than just masters. So we want you to be the head coach, but we want to develop a triathlon program as well. So it took a while because it's a community college district, and there's a lot of steps to create a position. But then once it was created, I was hired as the coach and manager, program manager. So I had to figure out how to have a successful triathlon program there that was for the community and age group athletes and not for students, because we share the space with the kinesiology department.
Okay.
And then they and the teams, and the like the basketball team and soccer team, and they use the facility as well. So we have to share the space, but I am more for community fitness. So my audience is just amateur triathletes. So what I did was to try to overlap it with masters, and then create a space for swimmers, master swimmers, and novice swimmers and triathletes to be able to attend swim practices that could suit their needs. And then that's one section of what I call now endurance training. Kenyatta College endurance training. It's a it, it, it It's master swimming, or swimming workouts, group workouts, and then we have cycling, power-based cycling workouts and indoor cycling. And then we have a running program as well and a strength training program. I have an assistant coach, who's an elite runner, who's a personal trainer as well, who helps me with the strength training workouts. And we're still building it up. It's been a year now, and I think the foundation has been already established, and now we're just looking to grow. But again, it's not something that I can replicate from somewhere else, because it's a very unique environment. It's a very unique,
Right.
like, it has some circumstances that we share the space with a college. We follow the rules of a college, but our audience is the community, and it is great. It honestly, I like it a lot. I wish we had more resources. Like we don't have a track, for example. The track is
Okay.
at the other college, is like 10 miles away.
Oh
It's a
wow.
beautiful
Okay.
track. It's a beautiful track, but it's 10 miles away. So, it's a very hilly campus.
Area. Yeah.
So we run around campus, but it's just hilly. So
Yes. Yeah. Well, you must have a very strong runners then, in because of that.
yeah, we use the treadmills quite a bit.
Okay. 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 So, well, within that, I would like to ask you then, like, do you have any prospects, like any athletes that are looking
like really
with
good. Well, we
potential?
have
Yeah.
we have one. I have one in Kenyatta College. I have one pro triathlete training with us. He's like a second tier professional, and he started swimming with me probably this year, basically. And he started swimming because he wasn't making the even the second pack, and now
Oh,
he's
not
coming
good.
out of the
Yeah.
water. He's a Canadian guy, and he's former hockey player, so he has and he swam as a kid as well. He has good technique, and now he's coming out of the water with a good second pack.
It's
Usually
great.
next to Sam Long, which isn't necessarily
It's
good,
great, but
but
yeah.
he's faster than Sam. It's just that it's just the same pack. It just doesn't make it's not making the front pack yet.
Right.
But yeah, he's holding regularly like 108 pace and for 100 yards.
Which is
So
fast.
yeah,
Yes.
it's he's moving. It's good. So that's why I say, like, he has that potential to be with them with the front pack. It just doesn't have that ability to throw in 100 within that swim, throw in 100 under a minute. So that's what makes the difference with those guys. It's just the surges that you didn't see on the camera. Like, there's some surges after buoys, or suddenly somebody picks up the pace and breaks that pack into pieces, and it has to be a pace that's a minute or faster, and then you have to be able to recover, right, and keep swimming
Right.
back.
Right.
So
Right. Keep going. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what makes the biggest difference. Yeah.
Well, that's good though to hear that there's some, like, again, talent within the community. And
Yeah, and then I have like a former Olympian, like Michael Kittle. He went to Olympics in '92 with
okay.
he's a German guy, and he was in the 4x200. He held the 200 free record at Harvard for like 14 years. It was like
Oh wow.
135 for the 200 free. So very, very talented swimmer, and he's now training for triathlons, and then helping him just transfer his potential into actual fitness, like triathlon fitness.
Correct.
Which isn't always the easiest, right? You find sometimes
He's in my age
really
group,
good
huh?
swim. He's 50 years old now, I think. Yeah,
Yes.
he's really in the
Darn
age
it.
group. Yeah. Yeah. So,
All right.
and he just got a new tri bike. So he told me, like, wow, this is so fast. I don't say.
That's
um,
awesome. That's
yeah. And
awesome.
then among my athletes, I have some, yeah, as a potential like age group winners. I have one athlete that has won his age group 30 to 30, 35 to 39 a couple of times, and he's looking to do very well in Kona. And then yeah, women as well, some fast. But as well, I have some athletes that have a 62-year-old guy has he's done probably like 13 Ironman races, and he keeps going strong, and he wants to
Right.
do that legacy program and go to Kona, and
Yes. Yeah.
that's his main goal. And then he keeps going and does like one or two or three Ironman every year. And then so it's like my philosophy as a coach is more about using triathlons to help you understand how to achieve your potential, not necessarily in triathlons. So it's just every workout is an exercise that moves you towards your
Towards
potential,
a
right?
goal. Right.
And then the goal is not just a race. The goal is just to build fitness, to be faster, to be stronger. And then the race is something you get to do with the fitness you built.
Right.
So because if we put all the pressure or the value or the result of the race uh, is what's going to say if your training was successful or not, it's it's just too much pressure, and it's usually something that you cannot control that throws everything out of the like throws the plan the way like
Yes.
uh
Yeah.
so so my approach is a little bit more about fitness and becoming the athlete you want to be or the fastest athlete you can be, and then go race. How many times a year we race? We race like 3, 4, 5 times maybe.
Lucky. Yeah. To race 5. Yeah.
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 If you do
Yeah.
some Olympics and stuff. And then 5 days, and then how many days you train? Probably
Every day.
350, right?
Yeah.
So like are you, racing well and winning your age group or doing very well has to do a lot with your ability to race.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
back in the day, we used to race every month, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like there were races all over, and then it
Almost.
was
Yeah.
great every month.
Yeah.
Like I remember racing 10 times in a year, and it was not a big deal.
Normal.
It
Yeah.
was it was normal. And so we got good at racing. And we in Venezuela we had draft legal racing, which made force you to learn how to really be a competitor and be a
Yeah.
racer, not a time trialist. So that was great. I'm super grateful for that. But most amateur athletes don't have the opportunity to do that. So it has to it, the motivation has to be something a little bit more sustainable and a little bit more uh, like something that with a deeper meaning for you than just a race. I feel like the race is an experience that we get to have with what we build through training on a regular basis.
It's again, well, you're it's a very good point that you're touching there. Um, because it's so easy, you can be so vulnerable if the whole um if your whole motivation is just to race, right? And so many things can happen on race day, or even before or getting into race day. Like you're training, and you're gonna see your a lot of aspects of your life train, from how you look to how you feel to like a lot of I've been doing triathlons for 30 years, and like I've always thought like we need to see triathlon as a life philosophy. You set a goal, and you set the plan to get to that goal, but it's the part of the goal that you need to feel the most, like you gotta have to enjoy the most, and to learn from the most. You're training, you set up for a race. Your goal is the world championships, and on the way to the world championships you get sick, you get injured, or on race day your bike, you get a flat, and you're out of uh, you can't finish the race for XY reason, but you enjoyed every day towards getting there. And in life it's going to be the same. You were uh, getting ready for an exam, or getting ready for this new interview at a job, and things happened, or I don't know, you got to finish to go on a day, and stuff happens during the day and you don't make it happen. So same
Yeah,
thing with
regardless of
triathlon.
unless, I mean, unless you're a professional triathlete,
Of course, yeah,
your that, which is your job, right? The result of a race is not going to change your life in any
correct,
way. Nothing. The your beloved ones and your family, your friends, they're not going to love you more or less. They may be proud of you if you win. Oh, that's my friend or all that, but
right,
that's not going to make a difference in your life. What makes a difference in your life is what you do on a regular basis.
correct,
It's who you become on a regular basis. So that's why. And then also, if you have that approach, you take all the pressure off of the race and you end up racing better. You end up enjoying the race. You end up, and I'm not saying that athletes should not be trying to win races or put a lot of importance on races. That's not the message here. It's more about it's just separating into two categories. It's training and getting ready, and your goal is to get to the starting line in the best possible shape. And then you
yes,
close that. You close that. That's
that
one
cycle,
goal. You made
yeah,
it. And now there's another one that's racing. And then you're gonna test yourself and you're gonna see it's an exercise to see if you can execute a race plan effectively. But and then how good of a competitor you are, and then test yourself and see yourself and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and see how you're going to react based on the skills that you have built and based on the on what, yeah, what the fitness you built. So it is a very privileged position to be in, because you have to have I mean, everything that it takes to get to a race and perform well. If you think about it, it's a lot, right? It's financially, physically,
yes, yeah,
um, you need your family support or
yes,
your environment needs to support you. Get it's a lot of pieces that have to come together, and that's why if you have a good race, it's something to be proud of. But that doesn't make you more or less. What has a bigger value is that thing that you build in order to perform that way. That's with you, and you're gonna have it after the race, regardless of your result. And it's going to be your fitness, it's going to be your time management, it's going to be your relationship with your
the
family
skills that
and
you
how
learn,
much
yes, yeah,
all of that is gonna remain with you. It's gonna help you for for triathlons and for anything
for
you
life,
wanna for
yeah,
life in general. Yeah.
yeah,
So that is that. I think that's my coaching philosophy for amateur athletes, and I feel a lot of it applies to professional athletes, although there's a lot more on the table when a professional triathlete races.
yeah. Well, so we're running out of time, and I feel like we have so much more to talk
Yeah,
about.
right.
I know, yeah. It's again, it's I'm sorry to cut it off here. I know
Yeah,
that
we
you
can make a
have
part two if you
commitments.
want.
Okay, well, we'll commit to that. We'll follow up and do a second part of this Cesar Valera coach interview. So with that, well, I want to thank you again. I mean, we got to talk about your kids. You have a 9-year-old, and how old are the twins?
Twins are
Uh,
6. They turned 6
6, yeah.
a couple of weeks
So
ago. Yeah. So now
yeah,
they're
so
bigger kids and
congratulations there. You're doing it. I
yes.
mean, you're putting your training, your triathlon philosophy there into practice, and you have a successful marriage also. So you're doing great. You're doing great with your job, seems like as well. So I'm again very proud and honored to be called your friend. And well, thank you again for having or uh, accepting the invitation to the APX podcast. And well, I'll let you say a few words before I close it.
Well, thanks a lot for the invitation. It was a lot of fun. Always, as always, anytime we get to spend some time together is great. As we have been doing it just regularly on those conferences, right? On
Yes.
the USA Triathlon conferences, which we didn't make this year. You didn't go to this one, right?
I didn't go
Yeah,
this year.
no.
You didn't go either, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and
Yeah.
I didn't.
Endurance
It was just
exchange.
East Coast.
Yeah.
It was
Was too
a little far.
and too early in the year. Like, why do we do it on
And
And Dia
January,
de
well,
Reyes
just
Magos.
it's
Yeah.
because it's because it's like I guess the triathlon season is not in full
Not
swing,
full,
and then
yeah, full
nobody's
swing. Yeah, yeah.
nobody's busy. But yeah, so maybe recommendation for amateur triathletes. Let me think about one. Okay, consistency over quality and quality over quantity. That is the order. So consistency is more important than anything else. If you go and you have a mediocre workout, that mediocre workout is way better than no workout at all.
Correct.
So consistent training gets you to places. The best athletes in the world, what they have in common, it's not the testing, the VO2 max testing, or the all of that. It's just the consistent training
Showing up.
and the and respecting intensities and just being there as an athlete. Then all the other things, would go in the 10% or 5% or 1% difference. But showing up and consistent training is the most important part. So
Are you,
I
are
don't
you
know what.
reading? What book are you reading right now?
I've been reading stuff not triathlon related, to be honest. And I've been learning a lot. So last year, I decided to take a little break from racing after I did a 12-hour time trial worlds in 2022 actually. And that even though I did great, I was second overall, and it was excellent. I should have won, but experience was the guy who beat me just stopped for 3 minutes total out of 12 hours. And I was thinking like 12 minutes or 13 minutes that I did was great, and then I saw the things like, oh no, I lost by a couple of miles, and it was just all this stopping. So whatever. So that broke me, and that it broke me in the way that I realized that I'm not getting anything for myself anymore out of racing. So I need to build a different relationship with triathlons before and long distance races before tackling it again. Because when I finished, crossed the finish line, of course, it was very emotional. It was like after a 12-hour event, you cross the finish line and you achieve your goal, and you're very proud. But the next thought I had is like, I want to go home. I just
Right.
I don't care about the award ceremony. I just want to go home and be with my family, and then just help my wife with everything I can, because although it sounds like it's not help that she takes a lot of the
The load, of
responsibilities, and
course.
then
Yeah.
I try to lead as much as I can in whatever I can, but she's the commander and in chief here in the house. So I just help her out. So and then I realized that I don't have time to train and race properly. And I look at results nowadays, and I look at results at Ironman Texas this weekend, and same names I've been seeing since like 25 to 29 age groups, and they're still there. And 45
Yeah.
to 49 still winning the age groups. And it's like, that's great, but I have different goals, different responsibilities, different moments. So in March last year, I started playing tennis.
Okay.
And then I've been embracing the process of learning, because that's something that I in triathlons was I always want to do something new, and I got into rowing and I got into different things, and just to go through the process of learning so I can relate a little bit better with my more novice triathletes, right? Because the process of learning is very
Yeah.
important, and there's not much that we can learn um about triathlons, and that journey from where I'm at in terms of fitness to racing. I've done it so many times, to racing fitness. I've done it so many times that I'm not really interested in crossing that path, right? Like
Okay.
it's not attractive. It's not like I don't like it. It's like it's not attractive right now. So in tennis, I've been embracing the
The book.
yeah. So I've been reading quite a bit about it, and mental training and
Okay.
things like that. So that's been fun. Now I'm a 4-0, like kind of a bad 4-0, but up in that in the categories in tennis. So that's fairly decent. I mean, better than average, but still, like it's more it's a learning process. So let me look into my Books here for recommendation. Let's see. Something. Oh, The Astonishing Power of Emotions by Esther Hicks.
Okay. Astonishing Power of Emotion. Okay. That's a good one. Sounds
Yeah, that's
and
yeah, emotions. I feel like
what's the author?
where is it? Oh, Esther Hicks.
Esther Hicks. Okay, I'll look for that one. All right,
All right.
Cesar.
All right,
Well,
man.
with that,
It was a
yeah,
pleasure.
thank you
I
so
gotta run
much.
as well, and then see you later.
All right, thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Bye.
Give
You're
me a
welcome.
second to
Thank
close
you.
this. Yeah, hold
Yeah.
on, don't go yet. Okay, thank you everyone for coming and joining us on the Cesar Valera interview today at the APX Triathlon podcast. Again, thank you one more time, and we'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.